Pete Davidson has always been a fascinating figure in the entertainment world, a man who has built a career on sharp, self-deprecating humor, unexpected romances, and an almost accidental status as one of Hollywood's most talked-about personalities. But in a recent interview,
no one talked about any work I was doing. They were just like, oh, that's
Pete revealed something that caught fans off guard. He admitted that the Big DK energy, labeled the now infamous phrase popularized by his ex Ariana Grande, was not flattering to him. In fact, he called it traumatic. It is a statement that makes you pause, especially in a culture where nicknames, memes, and viral labels can stick to someone for years. For Pete, the phrase became more than just a trending joke. It became an identity that he never asked for, and according to him, it was more damaging than anyone on the outside might imagine. The origin of the Big DK energy label. To understand why this has been such a burden for Pete, we have to go back to 2018. That was the year Ariana Grande and Pete Davidson's whirlwind romance dominated headlines. After a brief courtship, they became engaged, and social media could not get enough of them. At one point, Ariana casually replied to a fan online about Pete's size, a comment meant in humor but one that ignited a wildfire of speculation and memes. Almost overnight, Pete became the poster child for Big DK energy, a term that supposedly describes a man who exudes quiet confidence, charm, and charisma and, well, is implied to be well endowed. The label spread across Twitter, Instagram, late-night monologues, and even think pieces in pop culture magazines. Pete, known for joking about nearly everything, initially played along in interviews, but as time went on, the joke never faded. It became a permanent tag attached to his name, whether he liked it or not. Why Pete says the label was traumatic in his recent comments? Pete explained that while the nickname seemed like a harmless compliment to some, it created unrealistic expectations and added intense pressure to his personal life. Everywhere he went, people felt entitled to make comments, jokes, or assumptions about his body. He revealed that it was embarrassing, uncomfortable, and made him feel reduced to one crude stereotype. He admitted that dating after the label became exhausting. New relationships came with the unspoken awareness that the other person had already heard the rumors, seen the jokes, and perhaps formed an expectation before even knowing him. This made intimacy more stressful and personal connections harder to navigate. Pete also said that the label overshadowed his work. Instead of being recognized first as a comedian, actor, or writer, he often found interviews, articles, and social media posts focusing on the nickname. For someone who has spent years building a career in stand-up comedy and television, it was frustrating to feel that a joke had hijacked his public identity. The double-edged sword of internet fame, Pete's experience is a prime example of how the internet can take a single comment and turn it into a cultural phenomenon. In the age of viral content, labels stick fast and spread far beyond their original context. What started as a playful remark between two people in a relationship morphed into a permanent part of Pete's brand, whether he wanted it or not. And because the term was sexual in nature, it blurred the line between public persona and private life in a way that Pete found intrusive. The Big DK energy phenomenon became shorthand for confidence and charisma in pop culture, with celebrities like Idris Elba, Jeff Goldblum, and even fictional characters being described as having it. But Pete, the man at the center of the original viral moment, found himself unable to escape the joke. Pete's history with public scrutiny, part of the reason this label hit Pete so hard, is that he has always been open about his struggles with mental health, relationships, and self-image. He has spoken candidly about living with borderline personality disorder, dealing with depression, and navigating fame after joining Saturday Night Live at a young age. For Pete, the Big DK energy label was not just about physical assumptions. It was another layer of public scrutiny to manage. And because it was tied to such an intimate part of himself, it felt more invasive than the usual celebrity gossip. He pointed out that while people might think such a nickname is flattering, it can also strip away a person's humanity, turning them into an object of curiosity. He said that the constant jokes and comments over the years felt dehumanizing at times, and that the humor did not erase the discomfort it caused him. How Ariana Grande's comment changed everything. It is worth noting that Ariana Grande never intended for her offhand comment to create a years-long meme. At the time, she and Pete were in love, publicly affectionate, and engaging in playful banter online. But the internet has a way of amplifying certain moments beyond recognition. Pete has said he harbors no anger toward Ariana for the label, but he wishes that it had never become such a defining feature of his public identity. He has also acknowledged that Ariana faced her own share of backlash from the incident, as critics accused her of oversharing about their private life. In a strange way, both of them became entangled in the internet's obsession with the phrase. Ariana moved on to other projects and relationships, but for Pete, the nickname followed him relentlessly. The impact on his career. Pete Davidson's comedy has always included self-mockery, awkwardness, and brutal honesty. But in the years after the Big DK energy moment, some audiences started showing up to his shows with expectations that had nothing to do with his jokes. He shared stories of people shouting the phrase at him during performances, of interviewers making sly references to it, and of strangers approaching him in public with inappropriate comments. It became clear that the label had overshadowed much of his professional identity. This is not to say Pete's career stalled. He continued to land film roles, headline stand-up specials, and star in shows like Bupkis. But he has made it clear that he wants to be known for his craft, not for a sexualized internet meme. A conversation about consent and boundaries. Pete's comments have sparked an important discussion about how we talk about celebrities. In a way, his experience highlights the double standard that exists when sexualizing men versus women in the public eye. While the label was intended as praise, it was still a public disclosure about his body, one he never consented to becoming a permanent talking point. It also raises the question of whether positive-sounding objectification is still harmful. Pete's answer seems clear: yes, it can be. Being reduced to one physical trait, no matter how complimentary it might sound, can be damaging when it becomes the lens through which the world sees you. How Pete is moving forward. Pete says that while he cannot erase the label from pop culture, he can control how much it defines him going forward. He has been more vocal in interviews about setting boundaries, calling out the ways in which the phrase has been harmful, and redirecting the focus to his work. In true Pete Davidson fashion, he still jokes about it sometimes, but now, the humor comes with a clear message that the joke has a cost. He has also leaned on his comedy to reclaim some control over the narrative, turning the discomfort into material for his stand-up routines in a way that feels empowering rather than exploitative. Why this story resonates with fans. For many people, Pete's honesty about finding the label traumatic has been eye-opening. It is a reminder that public figures are still human beings with feelings, insecurities, and limits. It also challenges the assumption that men are always comfortable with sexualized attention, showing that boundaries matter for everyone. Fans have praised Pete for being candid about a topic that is often dismissed or laughed off. His willingness to speak openly about how it affected his relationships, career, and self-image adds depth to a conversation about fame, privacy, and respect. Pete Davidson's confession about finding the Big D energy label traumatic is more than just a celebrity headline. It is a case study in how internet culture can take control of a person's identity in ways they never asked for. What began as a playful comment from an ex turned into a years-long label that Pete has had to live with, for better or worse. His story is a reminder that viral fame comes with its own set of challenges, and that not every joke ages well. It also shows the importance of consent, respect, and boundaries, even in a world that often treats celebrities like characters instead of people. If you enjoyed this breakdown of Pete Davidson's candid confession, make sure to like, share, and subscribe for more stories that go beyond the headlines, digging into the real human experiences behind the fame.